Frau Präsidentin, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen.
In a parliamentary democracy, intense debates in the parliament not only are they permitted, they are part of the necessary struggle to find the right answers to the challenges facing a country and a society. In such a democratic order, a government must face criticism, and it must also listen to excessive and even outrageous criticism. But, to put it very clearly and distinctly, half-truths, slander, and personal denigration must not go unchallenged in a democracy either. I strongly reject your blanket and undifferentiated disparagement of the work of the new federal government. This federal government started its work just over 2 months ago. The beginning of the work of the federal government just over 2 months ago was, and our work is to this day unchanged, in the light of the Russian war of aggression against Ukraine, to which you, by the way, that is an interesting reaction from you. That is an interesting reaction from you. This morning, and last night, there were the heaviest attacks on exclusively civilian targets in Ukraine in 3.5 years. From you, Ms. Weidel, not a word about it. That says something about what you think and how you feel in this parliamentary group. Responsibility for Germany. This is how we entitled our coalition agreement, and we take this responsibility seriously in the federal government, ladies and gentlemen, and we know at the same time it cannot be done alone. We need partners on the world, by the way. Not a word from you about that either. It was a purely nationalistic speech that you delivered here. Not a word about our international partners, not a word about our international agreements and commitments. We need partners in the world, especially in Europe. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, I attended the G7 meeting, the NATO summit, and the European Council meeting. That is why, at the beginning of my term, I accepted numerous invitations for discussions in Europe and beyond. I accepted instructions for talks, dear colleagues, and I issued invitations for discussions. This also marks the initiation of a policy change in Germany's foreign and security policy. I want to say it very clearly, and this became clear at the NATO summit. If we hadn't done that, and if we were no longer willing to spend on our defense, if we had followed AfD and the Left Party, then NATO would probably have fallen apart in the 70th year of our membership, ladies and gentlemen. We are not going down this path. We were able to make the first important decisions with a sober view of the current threat situation. We will continue to help Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen, even against the resistance of the political left and the Russia-friendly right here in the House. We will continue this support. I want to make it even clearer to you. The funds of diplomacy are exhausted when a criminal regime openly questions the right of an entire country to exist with military force and sets out on its way. Then it sets out to destroy the political order of freedom across the entire European continent. The federal government I lead, we will continue this support. I want to make it even clearer to you. The funds of diplomacy are exhausted when a criminal regime openly questions the right of an entire country to exist with military force and sets out on its way. Then It sets out to destroy the political order of freedom across the entire European continent. The federal government I lead will do everything in its power to prevent exactly this. And we stand united with the great majority, with the overwhelming majority of our population in this task. That is the reason, ladies and gentlemen, why I strive for international and European cooperation. I do this to ensure peace, freedom, and prosperity in our country. We have seen a shift in mentality at the European level in a very short time. On migration policy, we have set the initial course for a sustainable reduction of irregular migration. Ladies and gentlemen, the number of asylum applications, Ms. Weidel, decreased by 43% in the first half of 2025, compared to the same period in the previous year. Apparently unnoticed by you. Yes, you are now slowly losing your political battleground topic to which you owe your existence, ladies and gentlemen. We will solve this problem and won't give you the pleasure of maintaining it, because you thrive on constantly stirring sentiment in Germany with this issue. Apparently, it was also unnoticed due to rejections related to internal border controls. Thousands of illegal entries were prevented, and a large number of outstanding arrest warrants were executed. At the internal border controls, we must continue to manage migration and for security policy. Apparently, it was also unnoticed due to rejections related to internal border controls. Thousands of illegal entries were prevented, and a large number of outstanding arrest warrants were executed. At the internal border controls, we must continue to manage migration and for security policy reasons, must continue for the time being. But allow me to state very clearly at this point that these are temporary measures. These are also only measures for a limited period. We are striving for common European regulations. We want to maintain the European single market. We want to maintain the Schengen area. We want to maintain open borders and freedom of movement in Germany and Europe. But we do not want it for illegal migration. That is why we are taking these steps. I would like to sincerely thank two participants at this point. I would like to thank the Federal Minister of the Interior for having the courage to reach decisions quickly here.